The next segment that I have goes into um, what we're facing and how to deal with it. Kind of the thing that Pepsi looked at. So this live stream, we're talking about new thinking and new ideas. I'm showing you somebody who successfully implemented the key elements to deal with stagflation. And now I'm going to go in and show you the 9 things that you can do. And these are in addition to like what Pepsi did. And I think you'll find it really interesting. So the very first step is to improve productivity. I mean, we should kind of be doing that all along, but who knows? Take a look at it. Uh, if you look at being more effective and more efficient, it will improve your bottom line, and that's probably another thing that Pepsi did. Cut costs, kind of should be doing that all the time, but this is a tougher period to do that because everybody is looking to raise their costs. Evaluate prices. This is the biggest segment that Pepsi did that got them the biggest bang for the buck. But the tricky part to this is you're having to evaluate how you're pricing, but also to whom you're pricing, and be able to get those large price increases like Pepsi did of 17% or more. Boost quality. So this is an interesting one. Um, Basically, you're giving the customer more and you're giving them something better. However you can make your product better and boost its perception by the customer, it's going to make what you're doing easier, including raising your price. Fortify the balance sheet. Get ready for a storm. It's not going to be easy. The next, hopefully it won't be 9 years, but it looks like they're using the same tools that they did before. And at the end, I will get into that. But we're going to continue to have crazy things like what's going on now, where we're not drilling for oil in the US, but we're asking Venezuela and Iran, people we've sanctioned, to sell us oil at below markets. That's not going to happen. So we have to be prepared that some of this is going to be difficult and we're going to be prepared for a rainy day. Like what I mentioned, Pepsi said at the end of that article, they're saying, we don't know how long we're going to be able to continue to stay out in front of this, but we're going to keep using these techniques to do that. And they're also preparing themselves for when sales stop or decline or drop because the economy gets so bad that it's not possible to keep raising prices and unit volumes are affected. Now, here's the basics of getting out in front of inflation. Tighten your accounts receivable. You need to get us into a cycle where you're getting paid hopefully 1 or 2 cycles before you pay your vendor. Like food and grocery, it's a weekly cycle, but the vendors can get on payment cycles of a month. So, for example, it was about 7 or 8 years ago, Procter and Gamble moved most of its vendors to 90 days. Well, Procter and Gamble gets paid once a month by the grocery chains and the drug chains, and they only have to pay their vendors at 90. This is how you're getting ahead of stagflation. Is you need to make sure that you're the front guy getting paid, and there's many ways to do this. It's also a lot easier to say it than to do it, but there are lots of techniques available to accomplish that. We can help you with all that. And in fact, I've got a lot of people that have a lot of tools for you that are free that can start all this. The other thing, obviously, is to delay accounts payable. So, like my example of Procter and Gamble gets paid 3 times before they pay their vendors once. And that means if they're raising their prices like Pepsi 17%, look at that. Look at what it does for Procter and Gamble. They're not having any financial difficulties. And in fact, they're probably increasing their profit like Pepsi because they get paid twice by Kroger, let's say, before they pay whoever gives them the stuff for their toothpaste or whatever products that they have. Now, this one is not a tongue-in-cheek one. We're going to have a real estate recession. We're already in it. Real estate sales have basically come to a screeching halt. This is the time to consider becoming a landlord. Now, you may have 87 problems on your plate, but this is the time to consider it, because over the next 6 months to a year, you're going to see some significant opportunities. You may want, if you're in a building, you may want to buy your building. There may be a lot of different things that you can do that will affect you positively in the future. Be opportunistic about acquisitions. Even for small businesses, acquisitions can be very successful. I've been involved with billion-dollar acquisitions, and I've been involved with acquisitions for less than $100,000. And this is the time also to consider acquiring a competitor, because or maybe someone that has an ancillary product that fits with your products or services, because it maybe the other person wants to throw in the towel that all this stagflation and government problems and whatever is too much for them. This is also the opportunity to buy another business, which will, if you lower your costs and increase your revenue. This is one of the most this is one of the largest ways to successfully deal with what we're dealing with now. Stagflation, the dropping economy with the raising prices. If you, through an acquisition, you can get some really quick cost benefits and add a whole segment of revenue and survive this whole thing. So these are all the tips that I've got for you today. I think that if you go to our page and you see the free tools that'll help you do this, a lot of this, it may sound in the beginning like it's hard to implement or hard to do, but really it isn't. It's just that mindset. That's why I started with mindset.